how can we get invoices from a third-party system into QuickBooks Desktop? It doesn't integrate directly. That's interesting, because one of the two possible tools that are, there are a couple different tools, but one of the two tools that I use most frequently was also in a subject of conversation this week, not with respect to invoices, but with respect to purchase orders. There you go. So best case scenario, if these invoices only have one line item per invoice, and if you're using the accountant's version of QuickBooks Desktop, then there's a tool called Batch Enter, which is awesome. The downfall of Batch Enter is it can only take transactions with a single line item. So if your invoices have 2 or more line items, you're going to have to use a tool like Transaction Pro Importer, for example. So, but if you're using Batch Enter, really all you do is go into QuickBooks, find the Batch Enter screen, tell it to look for invoices, choose invoices from the drop-down box, and make sure that you get something in an Excel or CSV format from that third-party system that's set up in the same rows or the same columns that you see in Batch Enter in QuickBooks. And just make sure that each invoice is a single line item and not the one that's going to accounts receivable, but the item that contains the item name and how much and the date and such. Just import all of that in a batch. You literally copy, paste, and hit save. That's as easy as it is. Where you really want to focus your time is in making sure that the data before you copy and paste is in a format that QuickBooks can understand. The customers are already in QuickBooks, ideally. The date is in the particular column relative to the item name and have all the columns matched so you don't have any confusion. And make sure the items that you're importing are in the item list already. That would be helpful, although not required. So Batch Enter is definitely my preferred tool, but if your invoices have more than one line item, and if this is a recurring task to import from the third-party system, it's definitely worthwhile to learn a tool like Transaction Pro Importer. In my experience, it has a bit of a learning curve, and I picked things up pretty quickly. This one beat my butt at first, but it's worth it. It's worth it for the hours and hours and hours of time that you save. And if this is a recurring task, you're going to save that number of hours every time you do it. The hard part about Transaction Pro Importer is that you have to be fastidious with how the data is organized in a CSV format or in Excel. Once it's fastidiously organized like that, which you don't have to do line by line, or else what's the point of the shortcut tool? Just while away your hours with some chocolate, some Doritos, and that data entry in QuickBooks. That not being the case, though, it's worthwhile to use formulas and tools to curate the data in CSV or in Excel in a batch with formulas and tools, and then you can very quickly just upload the file, create a mapping that you can use every week or every month or however often you import these invoices, and you just use that mapping over and over again. Best case scenario, you can record into a macro the processes that you use to curate the data from the third-party software and get it into a format. Seriously, oh my gosh, then it just comes down to clicking a button and uploading through Transaction Pro Importer right into QuickBooks. It is a beautiful thing. And if you're talking about a high volume of transactions, a high probability of human error, a high probability of complexity, and if this is a recurring task, it is so worth it. Program yourself a macro, learn Transaction Pro Importer, definitely the way to go.